Evaluations and perceptions play an important role when making decisions because our behavior is based on our perception of what reality is, not on reality itself. It's possible that two persons can see the same thing and interpret it differently. Surely there are hidden psycho processes quietly working in the human mind that affect these evaluations or perceptions and cause them to be biased. In this video, we'll illustrate one of these processes is called anchoring bias and how we use it in pricing strategy and what is the limitations and recommendation on the experiment that will be presented. Let's see this case. A social psychologist, Miss Weller, and colleagues asked trial judges with more than 15 years of experience to consider sentencing demands made by non-experts in a legal crime case before issuing a final sentence. The two sentencing demands were 34 months and 12 months. The judges, despite their experience and despite the fact that the crime was the same, were influenced by the demands. Judges who considered the high demand of 34 months prior to their decision gave final sentence that were almost 8 months longer than the judges who considered a low demand for 12 months initially. If a prior exposure to a piece of information can make a difference as much as 8 more months in prison, then we ought to know what is going on. This example illustrates a psychological heuristic known as anchoring and adjustment. The heuristic suggests that when faced with a decision-making or estimation situation, people start with an anchor or reference point and make adjustment to it to reach their final decision or final estimate. The anchor serves as first approximation, and then the person makes adjustment to it to reach a final decision. Why does the human mind utilize this heuristic? The answer is simple. We don't always have a whole lot of information to reach an accurate estimate or best decision. Therefore, the mind sometimes needs shortcuts, especially under pressing circumstances. To understand this process, let's have a look at the limit of human cognition through the experiment that was done in the form of a survey with 40 participants at AUT University. Two surveys contain two categories of high-cost products and low-cost products. The first survey has two pictures. Picture number one has a low-price handbag with hiding its price, where it was placed between two anchors that are high-priced handbag, which were revealed their prices. And the second picture has a high-priced watch with hiding its price, where was placed on the right side of two low-priced watches, which were revealed their prices as well. This survey was given to 20 female participants who were asked two questions on each picture about the amount they are willing to pay and their evaluation of the product. The same process and design had done for the second survey, but with alters in the reference prices. The high value products to low priced and low value products to high priced. This second survey was given to another 20 female participants. The reason of the survey, we tried to build a baseline of the effect that we used to see if the people have the same willingness of paying on the same perception. The experiment result indicates that the people who were given the lower anchor on average willing to pay a lower price and give a lower rating for the products, and higher anchor on average willing to pay a higher price and give a higher evaluation for the product. Let's have an in-depth look at the result of both groups. For group A, as we see, the real price of the bag was $550, but when we placed it between two anchors which their reference price $1,200 and $1,500, the majority of participants are willing to pay more than actual cost and give the high evaluation on it. On the same survey for the second picture, the actual price watch is $395 and the majority of participants are willing to pay less price because it was blazed with low priced watches that cost for each 175 and its quality is evaluated from medium to low. How did this happen? Cognitive psychologists tell us that human adjustment is essentially relative or comparison based, even if we are not asked to make a comparison explicitly. So, in evaluating the present object, our minds search for an anchor. A particular anchor may be selected because it is readily accessible, because it is suggested to us. So the anchoring effect happens when people make a decision based on the first information that they encounter. So what advantages are concluded from anchoring bias and how can we employ it when marketing a new product, sell items online, or negotiate a deal? As the experiment result showed, the best way to sell a low-priced product is to put it next to a high-priced product. We'll illustrate in depth some actionable techniques that will subconsciously influence people to perceive the price as a bargain by maximizing the reference prices. The first tactic: sort prices from high to low. We can influence customers to choose more expensive option if we sort products by descending price from high to low. Researchers tested that claim in a bar over an 8-week span and 1,195 beers. The researchers returned the sequence of beer prices. They maximized the revenue when they sorted prices from high to low. As we see, the bar owners now make an extra 24 cents on average for every beer sold. But why does that happen? The researchers proposed two reasons. Was one of these reasons anchoring or reference prices? When consumers evaluate a list of products, they use initial prices to generate their reference price. If the initial prices are high, customers generate a higher reference price. When customers use that reference price to evaluate the options, all of the options seem like a better deal. As based on the result from numerous tests, we might increase the revenue by arranging pricing plans from most expensive to least expensive. The second tactic: position prices to the right of large quantities. Suppose that you are selling a product bundle. Which order is better? $29 for 70 items or 70 items for $29. You're right, research shows that the second presentation is more effective. However, there are two conditions. The first condition is the unit price calculation must be difficult. For example, with a difficult calculation, customers use heuristic to make their purchase decision. Specifically, they use first piece of information to guide their purchase decision. If the first item is price, customer focus on cost. If the first item is quantity, customer focus on benefits. The second condition is the item quantity must be larger than the price. How? When the quantity is larger, an anchoring effect occurs. Customers anchor on high quantity, and they falsely infer that the price is an attractive deal. Obviously, we should only use this pricing tactic if it makes sense for our product, as the researcher warned. The third tactic: start negotiations with a higher precise number. Due to anchoring, sellers get more money by starting negotiations with a high initial offer. That higher number establishes an anchor point, pulling the final settlement closer. Let's watch this very short video.
We sat right here in this room and went over this and over this.
Yeah, but that True Coat.
I sat right here and said I didn't want any True Coat.
Yeah, but I'm saying that True Coat, you don't get it. You get oxidation problems. It'll cost you a heck of a lot more than $500.
You're sitting there, you're talking in circles, you're talking like we didn't go over this already.
Yeah, but this True Coat.
We had a deal here for $19,500. You sat there and darned if you didn't tell me you'd get me this car, these options, without the sealant for $19,500.
All right, I'm not saying I didn't.
You called me 20 minutes ago and said you had it ready to make delivery. It says, come on down and get it. And here you are, and you're wasting my time and my wife's time, and I'm paying $19,500 for this vehicle here.
All right. I'll talk to my boss. See, they install that True Coat at the factory. There's nothing we can do. But I'll talk to my boss.
These guys here, these guys, it's always the same. It's always more.
You going to the Gophers on Sunday?
Oh, you betcha.
You wouldn't have an extra ticket.
You kidding?
Well, he never done this before. But seeing as it's special circumstances and all, he says I can knock $100 off that True Coat.
100. You lied to me, Mr. Lundgaard. You're a bald-faced liar.
Bucky, please.
A fucking liar.
Bucky, please.
Where's my goddamn checkbook? Let's get this over with. Where is it?
Like this car dealer, he may offer you a very high price as an anchor and ask you to make a counter offer. Some experiments have demonstrated that under such circumstances, the value of the initial offer has a significant effect on what people will be willing to pay for the final price of the car. If the initial offer is very high, the customer is likely to accept a higher negotiated price, and vice versa. So all these techniques which use anchoring will help to create a more definite sense of value for potential customers and drive more profits and customer satisfaction. It's recognized that several limitations that must be taken into account when generalizing this result. Anchoring price or anchoring prices by itself sometimes doesn't affect the consumer purchasing behavior, and we need to apply beside that some another tactics because of the buyer's preference. That is the first limitation. It was observed there was a small proportion of participants who acknowledged that they willing to pay a low price for the unrevealed prices of the products, which the reason back for the preference judgment. We conclude of this limitation that only anchors compatible with preferred products affect. The second limitation, the knowledgeable buyers. Certain participants were willing to pay the same amount of the actual price because they can figure out the value of the product. So anchoring price by itself again doesn't work. I recommend to use like another technique beside that with this segment of market when we are selling for them. Here we should like focus more on how to provide more valuable information about the product, not only the price. We have to pay attention for one more point for before I done this video. Consumer typically maintains reference prices for products. These are typically based on prices they have seen or paid in the past or perceived fairness of prices. There are two kinds of reference prices. What the purpose of this point? This is when the retailer gives a high and reasonable external reference prices. It increases the internal reference prices of customers, which means that the retailer is lying. And this one way of misusing reference prices that may lead to the loss of customer trust of products or services that the businesses provide. I hope this video is very helpful, and thank you for watching.